Hey guys, Ty Hoffmaster, Taiwan on TV. Today we are doing something to the Ranger Z21 that we've been waiting 6 months to do. Back in August, we actually ordered the new seats and the coin box for the Ranger. We were originally told like 2 to 3 weeks, which is about what they average for made parts is what they call them. And it's actually taken them like 6 months. Everything to do with COVID created a big headache. So all in all, they're here. They showed up. Great shape. There was not a single nick on the box. So looked them all over and they're flawless. We did go with the charcoal gray and graphite black, which looks like carbon fiber for the inlays, which is a lot different than what we started out with. The old colors I thought looked dated. There were no other colors like that in the boat, so decided to make the change. Couple things that you guys are going to need to do in order to install your coin box, and we're going to go through step by step of old seats out, new seats in. All you need to do is give them your VIN, and they tell you what seats fit your boat style, and then you pick out your colors. They send you the whole color packet thing, and you tell them which ones, and you're on your way. So the only downside with Ranger is their instructions were pretty much non-existent. I had to keep calling back until I actually talked to somebody that put these in, and they actually emailed me the step-by-step instructions that what they go through in the factory to put these in. So with that, you're going to need a drill, because you're going to need to drill your coin box in the back. That does not have pre-drilled holes in it. So drill, you're going to need 2 screws at 2 inches for the back, and then we're using 1.5 inch stainless for the front for the coin box. For the new seats, there's actually hardware in the existing seats that are under the middle section. These are all removable, and those just get reused. All the seat clips in the front, everything's the same. You literally just take old ones out, put new one in. The only thing that we're gonna have to fight in the aspect of anything that's difficult with this is getting brand new, super puffed up seats squished next to the coin box. That by all the pictures and everything that we figured out is this thing fits like super tight. So we'll get that figured out. We're going to show you guys the process on how the old seats come out, and then we're going to start measuring this up and getting these new seats put in. All right, so we are going to do everything we need to do to get these seats loose. This is for Z21s. I can't speak for, I know this fits the 520, 521, all the old Z models, like Z19, Z20, 21, and not even sure about the 22 because those were so rare to begin with. So in this particular situation, which this was even in the instructions from Ranger, so I think it's a broad enough spectrum that it's going to fit enough boats. There are 3 Phillips head screws above the flip-up seat that we are in the process of eliminating. So 3 Phillips screws there. Now behind the back of the driver and passenger seat, in these seats, these centers all come out. They have a Velcro strip on the back, and there are 2 Phillips screws that you're going to need to take out, and these things are lags. So that's what supports a lot of the beef of holding this in, even though Ranger does use all metal frame seats with no wood in them whatsoever. So in here you guys are really starting to see just what the years of abuse and UV damage are doing to the old seats. So it's quickly deteriorating. I did not buy this boat new, so my guess is that this thing saw a lot of sun and didn't see any UV protection whatsoever. Seats, especially marine vinyl, are very picky. They are not something that you want to use all-purpose cleaner on. So of any ratio, I don't care if it's a 10-to-1 ratio, like you are doing nothing but damaging the pores of the seat. Makes them super susceptible to UV damage, which that's what we fight on everything on a boat, just because they see so much sun. So we will go over what we're going to clean and protect our new seats with once we get the install done. But yes, cleaning seats are very temperamental as to what you think you're doing to help them, but in the long run they're actually making thin spots from the UV damage. And that, I mean, in continuous use, you know, there's some guys that step in their seats and stuff like that rather than step on step pads to get to the back deck. So we don't like those kind of guys, but we're going to show you guys how to clean the right seats, do it the right way anyways. All right, guys, so we are now ready to take this whole, the driver, passenger, and center seat section out as one. You'll see underneath, there should be a metal plate, and then the middle seat is then bolted to the frame of the driver and passenger seats. So all we have to do again is take these 3 Phillips screws out, which are located on the back, and then under the center sections of the seats, we took out 2 legs with washers out of each seat. That's it. Underneath, there are clips that you won't ever see from looking underneath the seat. So if you're down there looking for other screws or mounts, you're not going to see any. They're built into the plastic frame of the seat itself. So to get these out, reach underneath and wiggle it back and forth and get it out off of the catch. They're only like 1 inch long, so it makes it really easy. Grab the back, grab the bottom, and then carefully lift it up and out. So this is where you get a good chance to see all of the gas tanks, all of the wiring, everything like that. That's all that's underneath there. And the 2 metal clips. Other than that, super easy, and we're ready to throw these things out and start throwing some new seats in. All right, guys, so we noticed that when we put the coin box in, per their instructions, you're supposed to put the coin box in first. That when we were worrying about getting it all centered and everything, that the front, this catches the front lip where the seats are. This is upside down, obviously. That we had a gap on one side and not the other. As it came out of the mold, you can tell where they had routed on it and worked on it. This side's actually thicker than this side, and the corners in certain spots are filled in more than others. So what we're gonna use the Dremel for is knock this side down on the thickness just a bit so it will draw back in, and we're also gonna clean some of these corners up so the top lip, which when it's flipped over is actually the bottom, will sit tighter to the bottom of the boat and make this look more seamless. Even though you're not going to technically see it because it's under the seat, the seats go all the way into these flanges. It's just going to help us definitely make sure to get it straight, level, and in the boat right the first time, because this is kind of a one-time deal. I don't want to plug holes in this any more than I have to, and especially in the boat. Boats and drills, I don't like when they mix. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll show you guys how we're gonna work this out a little bit with the Dremel. Alright guys, so we used the Dremel on the corners and knocked the one side down, and we actually knocked the corner off the mold here that was, it was sitting up high. So in order to push this in to where the coin box sits once it's installed, it was holding it kittywampus off center just enough. So quick work with the Dremel. It's easy fiberglass. If you guys are sensitive to fiberglass, wear a master gloves, because this stuff will leave you like itching like that girl in high school that said she only loved you. So make sure you guys wear your mask and gloves and stuff like that. I'm not crazy sensitive to it, so I get lucky. But let's show you guys how we got this all centered up and drill some holes and get this stuff installed. All right, so we now have the coin box back in the boat. All the directions said were to center it over the gas tanks. Well, this is a super wide area to try to center this up by eye. Then we figured out when we tried to measure off of the inside portion of the seats is that this section has the rod holder for the passenger. So that's actually like 5.5 inches, and this side's only 4 inches. So measuring from side to side isn't going to work. So what we found out is we measured the width of the coin box and put a line on the tape, which we lined up with the line in between the two live wells. Once we got that right, we put painter's tape on the sides, so we knew that if we lined it up within the width of the painter's tape, our latch lined up with our net hole and the drain hole in the floor, and the line on the tape lined up with our live well lid, we knew we were as centered as we could be. And honestly, the seats are so fat and fluffy because they're new, and you're literally sticking too big of a seat in like too small of a hole. That's how much these things are going to squish when they get put in. So at this point, we just have to drill 2 holes, one on each end here and one in the front lip on each side. So all the directions said are come in an inch and pre-drill a 9/64 hole and use a 2-inch Phillips screw. Ranger does not supply hardware with any of this stuff, which honestly, for what you pay for this stuff, they can't throw in $1 worth of screws. That's kind of not that awesome, but I mean, you make do. So we're going to put painter's tape over everywhere we're going to drill. Here's probably pretty close. I'm just going to come an inch down, and I'm going to come an inch over on the back, and then we'll center it up in the front. Again, none of these screws are going to be visible once your seats are in. Your seats more than squish right up to the sides of the coin box itself. So at this point, nothing really needs to be like mathematically perfect because it's never going to be seen, other than this reveal of the carpet in the back. But because we did our math and got everything lined up, everything sits totally flush and easy and ready to go. So we'll get this taped up and get some holes drilled. All right, so we have our coin box all marked. We came an inch down from the top, inch over from the side on the front, the upper part. On the bottom, I literally eyeballed it and I centered where our holes are going to be. I don't think you're going to need to be any more picky than that. We are using bigger screws than what they said to use. The size screws that they're going to want you to use are the size of the 3 that were originally in the back that we took out in the very beginning. I'm using a little bit beefier stainless screws. 1 is because of what I have. 2, I think I want a little bit more than that holding this in. I mean, this is pretty heavy, so hitting big waves and stuff like that up north, I don't want to run a risk of anything creating a stress pop. So we got everything taped up. This is where we're trying to do everything we can to avoid popping the gel coat. So painter's tape, and we're going to start off with our drill in reverse until we get our dimple, and then very high speed but very light pressure, if that makes sense. I don't want my drill going slow, taking big chunks. I want to have that drill bit whirling as fast as it can go, but yet barely pushing it into the fiberglass. And another thing on this, I'm not sure if it shows up on camera or not, this is a huge radius. So your screws are not going to run straight in, they are going to angle in. So be sure to hold your drill straight on with the material, not straight on with the boat, if that makes sense. So that way the screw head actually sits flush on this radius. So I have my drill bit in nice and tight. Again, painter's tape, and we're going to start off in reverse just for a minute. Okay, that's all I need. Get a couple flakes out, put it in forward, real nice and fast, real light pressure. One. Again, start off in reverse on the painter's tape so we don't pop the gel coat. So the back backs are done. Now we just need to do the bottom front. There's one. That's it. So now I can take all my tape off, and the only thing I need to be sure to leave is this section of tape that has my line on it. Everything else can come off, but it does wrap around the back, so tear off whatever you need to do around it, or take it all off and make sure you just measure it again to find the center so you can line it up with your live welded seam. That's it. Alright guys, so we have all 4 holes drilled. We left our tape that we can line up with our live well. I'm looking down the latch and it lines up with all the holes in the boat. That's per Ranger's instructions. There is like no mathematical measurements that they give you. So one thing that we did is we put a piece of 2x4 in between the gas tanks and the coin box to help hold it up. If you think this lays on the gas tanks, then it holds the front like 1.5 inches out. So this actually needs to be held up. In the pictures that they sent, there is this strip. This is all the more reveal that you see at the top. So we got it held up just so we can make it that much easier and not have to wrestle this thing. So hook the front first, and then just barely set it down, and then just make sure that you're straight. We're between our tape lines, and then I'm just going to lean against it. The only thing we have to do is go drill through our holes to go into the boat, run a screw in, and then we can go on to the next one. And that's all the tighter we're going to do it for now. I want to finish tightening everything up by hand. So again, just making sure everything is nice and flush. And I just lean back on it just so it holds it, makes it easier. Again, that's all the tighter I want to go. I don't want to distress it with an impact. As tight as I can get it in with a screwdriver is as tight as it needs to be. So we just have our 2 holes to finish up on the bottom, and then we are ready to throw some seats in. I'm going to go through those holes one more time. Just give them a little bit of while we're out because I don't want to trip that gel coat. Well, we're going to have to try that again because we just broke a screw off. We'll be right back. Alright guys, so it is the next day. It got a little late on us, and putting the seat in we realized that we needed a long drill bit. You do not need one this long by any means. What we are running into is the original hardware they give you are only 3 inches. Going from the original seats to the new ones, you couldn't poke through the back enough to hit your newie pre-drilled holes. So we weren't, save yourself the trouble. Nothing lines up. I wouldn't even assume that it lines up. Just get your seat in, pre-drill new holes in the back of the backrest of the seat, and put your screws in. That would make it 10 times easier. The other big thing that we learned is that, like before we mentioned, this side of the boat does stick further off of the boat than this side. So the actual side's like where your partner's rods would lay and stuff like that under the console. So if we had to do it over again, we would not stress on making the coinbox dead center. We would actually probably favor the driver's side. I'm gonna say no less than like 1/4 or 3/8, possibly 1/2, somewhere in there. It's such a wide span, there's so much for your eyes to catch. I don't think anybody else is ever gonna know, but when you guys see just how much we have to squish this seat in to get it to go, it takes a lot of effort. So the bad thing is that it's brand new vinyl. The last thing I wanna do is put any wet lubricant on it to get it to slide in. Because after so far in, like you're dry rubbing vinyl against fiberglass. So our take is we're gonna baby powder it down and see if we can get it smooth enough that we can get it to slide back in. I already know that on the driver's side, the catch on the bottom of the seat was in the perfect spot. That was fine. On the passenger side, not so much. When we take this out, we'll show you guys what it looks like flipped over, where the little grooves sit, where the catch hangs onto the bottom portion of the seat. So let us get this out, and then we will show you guys how we got to modify the bottom. It's not going to take much at all, and then we're gonna use some baby powder on this dude and try to get it put in. All right, so we have the passenger seat flipped upside down on the bench. So there are 2 grooves that the catches, the little L brackets on the sill of the seats catch. So what we're having happen is it's not lined up. Our catch is here when they're showing it there, and really in all the pictures that they showed in the instructions, sometimes they showed both catches, like one on each side. Sometimes there was one and it didn't make a difference what side in the picture it was on. It was kind of all over the place. So all we did is take a pencil and marked it out. We're just gonna be continuing the haircut, and we're just gonna be using the Dremel again. So I would say that the Dremel has come in pretty pivotal as far as just making stuff easier to cut on. I don't want to use an angle grinder on something like this. One, that plastic is super soft, and I think the grinder will get it so hot it's going to start slinging it everywhere, and the last thing I want is to screw up brand new expensive seats. So we will cut off this groove real quick. Hopefully yeah, that'll look good. We can we'll use a file, knock that plastic down. It's just ABS plastic, to clean it up and make it look like theirs does. Not that it really matters, nobody's gonna see it, but try to make it look nice. So we'll be back when we put this thing in the boat. All right, guys, so we got the bottom cut so it accepts the latch on the bottom. So this is what we're running into. You guys can see just how, like, fat girl in a little dress type thing. So, and you can tell that, like I said, I don't want to use anything wet lubricant wise. And I don't think water would do it. I think it would like just make it suction to itself. So when I can hear the vinyl creak on the fiberglass of the coinbox and on the gunnel, it makes me think that that's where a lot of the friction's happening. So we're gonna baby powder this thing up. We can get it back to probably within a ½ inch, and it only gaps on the inside, not the gunnel side. So, but it makes sense because it's where it's got to meet the coinbox the most. So we're gonna try some baby powder. I mean, it's the best thing I could think of. It cleans, it doesn't stain. You know, no different than talc powder at the barber shop, I guess. The only bad thing is you're going to have handprints about everywhere on your boat now. So, make sure you get the front down and make sure you get the front pushed all the way back. And you'll feel that plastic frame of the seat really start to work back. Getting pretty close. And the bad thing is that what we were finding that we were trying to do is more or less knee it like you're installing carpet here on the bolsters on each side, because you're trying to like literally squeeze it in there. So that's the hardest part. That side was not so bad, still pretty tight, but that's why we said if we had to do it over again, we would not split the difference with the coin box and make it even with the boat and scoot it over a little bit. Because you can see our gap in the back now is at least even. It's just a matter of getting all this fresh new foam to compress and scoop down. And conform to the sides of the coin box, which, I mean, it looks nice. The radiuses are gonna look awesome, but I don't want to beat the shit out of a brand new seat either, so. Might almost have to take it out and put some baby powder there, because I think that's the only spot we didn't. Not so much the back sides, but because that goes in the furthest about every time. But I mean, it more or less tells you right where it's hitting, which is about the same. We'll try one more time, see what happens. Just kind of trial and error. That's how this stuff goes. I wouldn't want to pay a service place money to do this when I can just spend some time and figure it out on my own. That way, if anything goes bad in the other place, you know, you can tear it all apart and you know how it goes back together. Getting close. The only problem is you can't have it fall off that catch at the top. All right, we're gonna take this thing out, try to line it up one more time. We'll be right back. So we got these seats and the coin box all put in. Couple lessons learned that would have made this easier. First, we wouldn't have centered the coin box. I know I've said it again, but it made getting this seat in pretty tricky. Second thing is, the baby powder actually helped quite a bit. It did slide in a lot further, pretty much where you could just give it a good nudge and everything fit up perfectly. So seriously happy with how this turned out. I mean, it's really hard to buck Ranger's quality. I know that people say that Ranger stuff is overpriced, and I mean, probably so, you know, but I think what you're getting is more than worth it. I've seen a lot of other seats and a lot of other quality issues in other very, very popular boat brands, and I mean, this boat's not new, and I can say this thing is it's looking better than ever. So going over the cost of these, I know that's not a topic that we like to talk about, especially with how crazy everything in the bass industry is getting, or fishing industry in a whole. I mean, you're paying $2 grand for a graph, and you're not really getting anything all that crazy. So you're not far off with these, actually. I know they make a generic coin box that I'm not even sure if they offer it. It's like super hit and miss. It's carpeted, and it just replaces that fold-up seat that was originally in the middle. I want to say that was under 200 bucks. That's a cheaper route. I think fit and finish is lacking on it, but I mean, if you're not really worried about all that or making it look completely factory, you know, I mean, to each its own. That's more than perfect. It'll get you out on the water and hold more stuff and work better. As far as the new seats and the coin box go for this, you were at around 1,800 bucks. So by the time you compare 1,800 bucks to getting skins from Ranger, top and bottom, and headrest for both sides, the middle seat was super crazy because parts were not available, or if you could find parts available, your upholstery shop that's local, you know, somewhere closer to you guys, they wanted nothing to do with it because then they have to try to get the foam to match. It was a big pain, and honestly, you're probably within like $300-400 bucks of just skinning your old seats compared to getting the 2 new seats and the coin box. The other thing is that when I talked to them, it was an extra 250 some bucks to have this shipped residentially. They were super pushy on, they're like, hey, don't you know a business, you know, that you can float them 50 bucks and say, hey, can I have a package shipped here? But a couple things wrong with that. So I'm paying 1,800 bucks to have something shipped to a factory or whoever's going to receive it that I have no idea how they're going to treat it. They have to sign for it, and it's a lot of liability on other people that, I mean, say something happened to it, who are you going to go after to fix it? You know, you can't blame the shipping guy because it was perfect when it showed up, and you're going to blame a company that was doing you a favor in the first place. You know, it depends on how stand-up they are. So it's kind of give and take, but 1,800 bucks ballpark is what you're going to pay to get these to your door. Everything is brand new. Everything is custom made down to the colors. We were able to match the charcoal to what was already in the interior of the boat. We were able to match the graphite, black or gray, whatever it was. It looks like carbon fiber, to the carbon fiber wraps that we had already had done with all the accents in the boat. I mean, it looks completely perfect. I am all about doing little mods and tricks and everything to the inside of my boat, but when it's all said and done, I want somebody to be super confused on whether it was factory or if it was added on, because I just want the fit and finish to be absolutely on point. I mean, the boat looks really good right now, and I'm seriously happy. The only other thing I might add is you might need 2 people to put these in. It helps not so much that it takes two people to wrestle them in, but once you get it in place, somebody to hand you the drill and hand you like your impact and your screws and everything that you need, because otherwise you only have it to lay where you're already kneeling down to get the seat in, or you're going to be laying a drill on a brand new seat or a brand new coin box, and I'm not going to do that. So luckily my smoking hot assistant helped out quite a bit, and she made it super easy. So hope this helps you guys out. I don't think there's many other videos on the internet, God knows, or we would have found them that actually show this getting installed. So we'll show you guys everything, what it looks like with a little B-roll action, and we'll catch you guys later. Thanks.